My name is Aaron Ladd, host of the Chiefs Squad Show here on the Locked On Podcast Network. And Darren Smith, Kansas City is back to 500.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Darren Smith, of course, I am live here at Arrowhead Stadium. The Chiefs just got through knocking off the Detroit Lions 30-17. Players should be making their way up as they are right now. My first initial thoughts on this is that the time for excuses is over with the return of Rashee Rice coming next week. The offense should look like it should be look like Juju Smith-Schuster. Something happened to his nose, I guess, in the scrum outside. So we'll try to get some more information about that as he just walked past me. But that's my initial thoughts to start the show off.
Chiefs Kingdom, stand up. It's the Chiefs Squad. Everything Kansas City Chiefs every week. Breaking down all the big hits and game-changing plays from Arrowhead Stadium. The way only the Locked On Podcast Network can. Squad up. The Chiefs Squad Show starts now.
Chiefs Squad Show here on the Locked On Podcast Network. Aaron Ladd here in Atlanta. Darren Smith is in the bowels of Arrowhead Stadium. Sounds very loud there as we break down this win 30-17 over the Detroit Lions. Today's episode is brought to you by Mazda. Like our players, we sweat every detail because when you make every move count, pulling off the unexpected is only the beginning. Stay tuned later for highlights in this week's Moving the Game Forward Mazda Move and Be Moved. What we have for you in this episode, we break down Sunday Night Football for the Kansas City Chiefs and the win over the Detroit Lions. They get to 3-3. You see some of the players coming in to the locker room now. Very excited there. It was an aggressive Andy Reid in this one, and possibly because of some kicking problems that they had for Kansas City. We'll discuss that as well. The state of the rushing game for Kansas City as Patrick Mahomes once again continues to make the offense move on his own two legs. Maybe that's a good thing. Maybe that's a bad thing. We'll talk about that with Darren. We will talk about that as well with Chris Clark of the Locked On Daily Show when he joins us later in the show. And then finally, is there a kicking conundrum for Kansas City in this one? I wonder what they do with Harrison Butker going forward. Look at Big Red right there walking in through the locker room and excited Andy Reid getting a hug. Let's hear some of Darren's sounds right now.
You can see the players coming through. Andy Reid talking to, of course, the owner, Clark Hunt. Andy Reid hugging and showing the love to all the players. So, this is how it is, man, after every home victory. Actually, after every game in general, but you know what it's like to be down here in the bowels.
I do. I covered the Chiefs for 4 years. For some of those who don't know me or are meeting me for the first time, once again, covered the Chiefs for 4 years, including 3 Super Bowls total, 2 in person, 57 and 58, and then Kansas City trying to make another Super Bowl push here. This game extremely important to kind of getting back on the right page, Darren. I want to hear from you on this one before you have to jump into the locker room. There was a lot of talk out of that Jacksonville game. Chris Jones maybe not giving 100% on the play, the defense giving a letdown, the second half. This game went a long way to kind of silencing some of that noise and kind of pulling away from one of the biggest contenders for a Super Bowl title, in my opinion, in the second half against Detroit.
Yeah, tonight I would say it was a statement win for Kansas City, especially after blowing the game, because they essentially blew the game last week in Jacksonville. And so, there were a lot of naysayers. And look, and I'll be first to admit, I thought that the Chiefs would lose tonight because of the penalty that they had last week. And coming into the game, they just didn't really feel like they were playing up to their best football. And for me, it's been about an inconsistency with the offense. 2 weeks ago when they played the Baltimore Ravens, they had no problem going forward on fourth down because we knew that that's what the Ravens were going to do. Last week in Jacksonville, they did not want to go for fourth down until they had no other choice late in the ball game. In tonight's game, of course, we saw where, of course, the Detroit Lions, they gambled a couple of times on fourth down and didn't pay dividends for them. The Chiefs did so as well. So what I would like to see is more consistency in the offense and the play calling. Tonight they were able to act. Of course, Patrick Mahomes walking by right now. But what I would like to see from the offense is just a little bit more consistency. And look, with the return of Rashee Rice next week, looking to see what this offense is going to look like. Because one of the things that we did not see tonight was Tyquan Thornton. So I don't know where he's going to fall within the mix of things when Rashee comes back. But to be honest, with all the offensive firepower that they have, 30 points should be the norm and what Chiefs fans should be expecting going further.
355 total yards for the Chiefs offense, 62 offensive plays. Patrick Mahomes, 257 passing yards, 3 scores, and then adds 32 yards on the ground. You mentioned it. This offense isn't it's been inconsistent at points this year.
Yeah.
And I think, of course, the run game is something that we will continue to talk about, not only in this episode, but as the season continues. Detroit is one of those teams, and one of the key moments in this one as well had to have been the Amon-Ra St. Brown drop on 4th down. So much of the momentum changed from that point in the game. They looked like they were driving. They're going to the end zone. Dan Campbell talked pregame about their need to score 30 points. You talked about KC scoring 30 points in this one and how important it is for them to get to that mark. Amon-Ra drops that 4th down ball, and then KC takes off from that point forward. And another response, I think, as far as their counterpunch was, they respond to the Sam Laporta catch. That Sam Laporta catch was special, right? Like, Shamari Connor was draped all over him like white on rice. I can't believe that he comes down with the catch. It once again is a one-score game, and maybe things are getting a little tight at Arrowhead Stadium once again. But no, Patrick Mahomes, who's been playing some of his best ball of his career this year, maybe isn't getting enough love, as Ryan Clark said on social media. Put the offense on their back, and they go ahead and end up with the victory to get to 3-3 here.
Yeah, look, the biggest key for me was, like you said, was the fact that they were able to bounce back after Laporta scored that touchdown. And what I like was that this week, what they did this week that they did not do last week, and I don't know if you noticed it, they were able to score at the end of the half and come back out and score.
The double dip. They double dipped.
Yeah, well, technically, I guess you could say the Lions had a chance to score at the end, but they didn't. But they finally actually put points on the board on both ends, and they were touchdowns as well. So they actually came away with a lot of points this time around versus what we saw last week in Jacksonville. So I was very happy with the aggressiveness of the play calling and the fact that they actually took chances, and they actually did go for it on 4th down a couple of times. It didn't pay off. I mean, what else? It didn't pay off a couple of times. But looking at the stat sheet right here, like you mentioned, Mahomes had 257 yards passing, and Jared Goff. I mean, Jared Goff kind of surprised me with his wheels when he actually ran 7 yards for a 1st down. So overall, Chiefs offensively, I would give it. Me personally, I'd give them.
Are we grading now?
No. I'm grading because I don't know how much time I have before I go in the locker room, but before I join you again. But I'm saying what we saw tonight, based off of what I've seen the last couple of weeks in tonight's game, I'm giving them an A- for this performance tonight. Because and I only give them an A- because for the 6th straight week, something happened with their special teams and Harrison Butker. And that's, I know we're going to talk about it a little bit more later on, but that is something that is just he has got to get that figured out. I may try to talk to him in the locker room, but that's something he has got to get figured out because it's going to come back and haunt this team when you least expect it at its most inopportune time in the future.
It's already haunting this team, Darren. I'd be willing to say that you're chasing points, right? The games that they've lost. Look, Jacksonville last week. I know this is a Sunday Night Football game, and we're breaking down this week. This is a post-game reaction. But this is something that needs to be addressed right now.
Yeah.
This is something that you cannot continue to, and I know I've covered the Chiefs for a while. You have. There's been hold issues in the past, and Butker has been a guy that has won you Super Bowls in the past. We'll go more in depth later on it, but I think it needs to be addressed as quickly as possible. And speaking on that, we have Johnny on the spot joining us right now on the Chiefs Squad Show. It's one of the Locked On Daily members, Chris Clark, as he comes in and we're talking Harrison Butker, SNF, instant reaction as the Chiefs get the win over the Detroit Lions and move to 3-3 on the year. Chris, you watched the game. What did you think about the Chiefs' performance getting the win over Jared Goff and company?
Hard to argue with the way they played. You look at how this game went, and I thought it was going to go a lot differently. I figured that they would get pressure with their, down to the 3rd string left tackle, but Chiefs without Josh Emmons also hurt. So you look at this game, and they were able to gut it out, and they were able to move the ball up and down the field. The offense started going, and I really do think that this is the start of things turning around for this team.
We got some fans chiming in on YouTube. Remember, you can watch Locked On every day, your team every day on Locked On. AG7 says, geez, enjoy the win, guys. It was a much better performance. Maybe
let me hold on. Look, let me give back with AG.
Go ahead.
So here's the thing. when you cover this team as long as I have, and it's going on 30, 32, 33 years, you have high expectations. The players themselves have high expectations. This is what the players told us during the offseason, during OTAs, during training camp, the expectation for them. So I have the same expectations that they have. So if it doesn't look pretty, somebody has to call them out. I'm not on the Chiefs payroll or anything like that. So if it doesn't look good or there are concerns, it has to be addressed. Look, their success is my success. So I want them to win. I want them to do well, but I still got to call it like it is.
I think you said it was an A- performance. I didn't think we were being too negative.
No.
I didn't think we were being too negative at all.
Hold on. My only negativity was the fact that something with special teams happened for the 6th week in a row. I mean, that's just a fact. And look, one good thing that we can say is Mahomes was not the team leading rusher again. So that's well, hold on, make sure on that. Yeah, he wasn't the team leading rusher.
I think if we're talking positives for this game and our quick instant reactions before we get a little bit more deep dive, Jalen Moore, I mean, give him a round of applause. Absolutely stepping up in replacement of Josh Simmons, who was the late scratch, the rookie, who has assumed this left tackle role and has been Mahomes' blindside protector. You paid this guy in the offseason. He hasn't been a starter, but he comes in a starting role today in prime time and plays well. When you don't call somebody's name, there was no penalties for Casey in this game as well. I think that's another huge positive since we're giving out some positives. We haven't been positive enough in this early stretch according to commenters. No penalties, and the play of Jalen Moore been extremely positive for the Chiefs in this win and this A- performance, according to Darren Smith. One more positive comes from the chat. Lions only got 99 rushing yards, Chris Clark. What do you think about that?
I think that's a huge step forward considering who they were playing against and the fact that they just rushed all over Kansas City the first series. I mean, you watched that first series. I thought they were going to rush for 150, 200 yards in this game. And Kansas City was able to figure it out and get things stopped. And I really appreciate that. It made the game a little bit less lopsided. I was afraid it was going to be a rout early on just based on the way the Lions offense was going.
Hey, Aaron, I'm going to drop off because I think they're about to open up the locker room. So I'll come back on once I get out the locker room.
Darren Smith is our man inside Arrowhead Stadium right now. There's no rest for the weary. Darren's got his suit on, 3-piece suit. He's dressed to the nines. He joined us live. We're hoping to get him later in the show as we break down a Chiefs victory over the Detroit Lions, 30-17 here on the Chiefs Squad Show on the Locked On Podcast Network. Something new here, right? This is our first squad show for the Chiefs. Chris Clark, you're a regular, man. I appreciate you joining us here. And we had a win to celebrate for Kansas City as I continue to shine our light on Patrick Mahomes and the play that he has had this year, and especially in this game, 257 passing yards in the win for Kansas City. I think that Andy Reid had to be aggressive because the offense was clicking. They found something, and special teams is still not where it needs to be.
No, it's not, and I think that's a problem. They got to get something figured out with Harrison Butker, obviously. But you look at this game otherwise, and very clean game. You have that one specific miss in something you can't have in a regular occurrence, and Butker's had a mistake every single game so far this year. That's something they got to get figured out. But as you said earlier, I think they actually ended up having one penalty, but it was very late in the game, and it wasn't something that actually killed them. Very clean game, and especially you talk about Jalen Moore earlier, him stepping into a very fierce defensive Lions pass rush and shutting them down. I think it was said on the broadcast, one pressure allowed in the first half. That's pretty phenomenal. Obviously, say what you want about PFF, but at first glance, it looked like he was doing pretty well from what I saw.
Didn't look like the usual Lions, and maybe we give the Chiefs the credit for that and being able to shut down what they were trying to do as far as the Lions attack. We're going to take our first break here on the Chiefs Squad Show. When we come back, we talk Andy Reid's aggressiveness in this win on Sunday Night Football, 30-17 the final score. As it gets to 500. You are listening to the Chiefs Squad Show on the Locked On Podcast Network. You know the saying, look good, feel good. The problem is that most dress clothes only check one of those boxes. They look sharp, but they feel stiff, hot, and high maintenance. That's where there's Mizzen and Main. Mizzen and Main makes classic menswear with performance fabric, so it's effortless to look sharp and feel comfortable. They actually invented the performance fabric dress shirt over 10 years ago, and they perfected it ever since. Their shirts are stretchy, moisture wicking, wrinkle resistant, and machine washable. No ironing, no dry cleaning. Right now, Mizzen and Main is offering our listeners, the Locked On listeners, the Squad Show listeners here on the Chiefs Squad Show, 20% off on their first purchase at mizzenandmain.com with promo code LOCKEDONNFL20. That's Mizzen, spelled Mizzen, and Main, MAIN.com, promo code LOCKEDONNFL20 for 20% off. And if you'd rather shop in person, you can find Mizzen and Main in select stores in select states. When the opening whistle blows on a new repair, get your crew moving forward with Supply House. Order today and see parts at your doorstep tomorrow with over 280,000 plumbing, HVAC, and electrical items from the most trusted brands in the business. Their real-time inventory and honest lead times keep you from putting projects on the punter, while their industry-leading customer service always has your blind side covered. Need parts fast for a project? Supply House has next day delivery. Talk about a game changer. Join the free Trade Master program today and score serious perks like priority shipping, lower prices, and a dedicated support line. Visit supplyhouse.com to sign up for free and use promo code SHNFL5 for 5% off your first order. That's supplyhouse.com. Real people, real service. Chris Clark and Aaron Ladd here on the Chiefs Squad Show, breaking down a win for Kansas City on Sunday Night Football, 30-17, the final. I've been begging for years, Chris. I covered the Chiefs for 4 years, and I am in Atlanta now, but still watching them very closely, obviously hosting these squad shows. You have 15-87. Why even consider punting? Why even consider kicking? Even when Butker was in his prime, look, I know he was automatic for a while, but when you're in that middle range of like 50, 45, kickers now, especially with the new ball, you can kick from even longer. Guys are routinely making these high, long-range kicks. That doesn't matter to me. I don't want to take the ball out of 15's hands. And maybe, just maybe, this game showed us that Andy Reid is listening to that philosophy.
I don't know that it's just this game. It could be this entire season. And you talk about kickers kicking from anywhere. McPherson made it 57 or 67-yarder today that got called back on a timeout at halftime. I would have been kind of pissed if I was him. But regardless, I mean, you look at this and I agree with you. Like, you have to be more aggressive. But I don't know that Andy Reid goes to be more aggressive unless they're at 3-3 at this point, or 2-3, or sub 500, because otherwise I think that he plays his normal game plan and you go with things as you are. What I will say is this team is looking like they're going to be getting back into shape. You should have Josh Simmons back, I would hope, next week. Even though Jalen Moore played well, you play against the Raiders and you get your best wide receiver that you haven't had. And not only that, like, Xavier Worthy had an okay game, but the guy that made all the plays at wide receiver for the Chiefs this game was Hollywood Brown, who hasn't really had great games in his career in Kansas City. And now you're going to add another huge wide receiver to this team. It's going to be fun to watch.
There was a lot of talk nationally when the team wasn't performing the way they wanted to out of the gate, that national insiders were checking in and just being like, hey, where are we at? Do we need to make a trade? There were rumors. There was speculation. What is KC going to do to try to continue to climb that mountaintop? Because it takes a lot to make that trek to the Super Bowl every February. No panic, just calm from the inside. And that was even regurgitated in the booth tonight, that they felt inside the walls, inside One Arrowhead Way, they feel more confident about where this crew is now than they did about teams in the past. This is a team that won 15 games last year in the regular season. I think this aggressiveness, and we've talked about this on platforms if you followed me in the past, players need to improve throughout the season and get better and learn, but also coaches do as well. And that's key part to a team peaking at the right time. And to me, Andy Reid being more aggressive, especially on these fourth downs early in the game, sets the tone to say, you know what? I've learned, I've listened. Maybe earlier in the year when we weren't playing our best ball, I would have punted here or I would have taken 3 points. But keeping our foot on the pedal right now is really what this team needs. Kansas City, in my experience, and I wonder what you think about this, it's in between these ear holes a lot, right? Like,
Absolutely.
they're such a mental team. Sometimes taking that 3 points almost feels like a punt to them, to where if you go for it on fourth down and you get it and you extend that drive and get 6 or 7 out of it, you got to say 6 or 7, considering where the kicking game is at right now. It really drives them and really turns them up to another notch. I think this is Andy Reid having his pulse on the locker room and saying, you know what? We need to be more aggressive.
I can't argue with that, and I think that it goes beyond that because you look at how this is playing. I think I heard 11 for 12 on fourth down so far this year. That's a phenomenal stat, and one of those, and the one that they didn't get was tonight. And the best part about that was they don't get it, but they came back and they held the Lions, and they hadn't been holding the Lions. So right after they don't get that first down, then they come back and they hold the Lions and get the ball back for themselves and are able to score back to back. This team and the way that it's going right now, and one of the things Ryan and I have talked about for years with Andy Reid is he's not aggressive enough. He hasn't been going forward on fourth downs. It looks like he's kind of changing that right now, but it goes beyond that because not only is he starting to go forward on fourth downs, but the offensive game plan seems to be a little bit more aggressive. And the one thing that I will say, late in the game, I was really worried that they were going to take their foot off the gas, and they did to an extent. On that last drive where they kick the field goal, I was thinking that if you come out and you throw a little bit, you have a situation where you're probably going to get the Lions in run defenses, and you should be good to go. They ran the ball; it ended up working out for them. They kicked the field goal, still ended up winning by 2 scores. Moving to 3-3 is so much bigger than being
Massive.
2-4.
Massive.
Huge.
Let's check in with the commenters on YouTube, our everydayers here on the Locked On Podcast Network. Christian says solid win overall. We agree with you. Thanks for tapping in with us. We also got one more that said, what was the key for the run game actually working? It's been a struggle all year. We're going to talk a little bit more about the run game after our next break, but quickly, what do you think about that, Chris, in the run game, especially in those late runs, some angry runs from Kareem Hunt down the stretch?
Well, yeah, and Pacheco had some angry runs too. I think that it's just a matter of getting this offense going in the right direction and being able to throw the ball. I think the one thing that they haven't done this year is they've been trying to run to open up the pass, and I think in this game it sure seemed like they went passing, trying to open up the run, and it worked for them.
Hollywood Brown, best game as a Chief ever?
Yep. Easily. 2 touchdowns, and his touchdowns were good, but one of his biggest plays wasn't even a touchdown. It was the one in the middle of the field where there's nobody around him, and Mahomes finds him for, I don't remember what it was, 17 yards, something, 20 yards, something like that, downfield where he's just by himself. If he doesn't make that catch, which it should have been an easy catch, but if he doesn't make it, it changes the entire game, and they don't go down and score. So huge in that regard.
He's been kind of especially when we're talking about a Chiefs wide receiver room without Rashee Rice, who we back. Yep. We've finished off the suspension as far as Rashee Rice. So, but Hollywood is the guy that like you look to be like, all right, you've played in the league for a while. There's a lot of young guys in this room. Like we're looking at you to kind of set the tone. And there's been some mixed results in there. This one, I have to agree with you. He came down with the catches he needed to. He's maybe not the stretch that you're looking for, the downfield threat. And I know Thornton, we talked about that briefly with Darren when he was on here. Thornton maybe wasn't as active in this game as he's been in other ones, but really strong performance from Hollywood Brown, and part of that aggressive nature that Andy Reid says, you know what, we've got the horses. We got to press the gas on this one and finish it off. I was actually just really surprised by Detroit. It did not seem like they brought their A game.
No, I would agree with that. And I think the other thing that's so interesting about Thornton, he wasn't targeted at all in this game. And so
you think that's game plan, or do you think Detroit got schemed him out?
I think part of it's the game plan. I think part of it is the fact that they figured Detroit was going to be able to rush the QB a lot better than they did. This offensive line played very well, especially with Jalen Moore starting. And one of the things that Mahomes has done at times, and I didn't see it tonight, was when the pass rush gets close, he starts looking down and not looking downfield. So in my mind, it's a situation where if you were going to, run that type of offense and try to throw the ball down the field, you want to have your best blockers out there. I think they kind of took away the deep passing game in this game because of no Josh Simmons. Just a guess on my part. I'm not sure. Obviously, we don't know what the game plan was specifically.
I know we said this was Hollywood Brown's best game as a Chief, but this might have been Travis Kelce's best game of the year as well. And there were a couple times when there was a double clutch on the sideline that you could tell he was beating himself up about. He also, the slow-mo replay got a shot of him getting rolled up on. Sometimes those are the worst injuries. I've talked to guys in the locker room after who say, it's not the one where I'm engaged straight on with the guy trying to block and he gets the best of me. It's when I can't see what's happening behind me. I get rolled up on, and now I'm like dealing with an ankle or I'm dealing with a knee and it nags. And anytime I try to cut or slash or go or accelerate or something like that, I just don't get the same push off. That happened to Kelce. Still came down with a couple grabs after that. Didn't find the end zone in this one, but finishes with 6 catches on 7 targets, 78 yards. Look, I know it was a tumultuous offseason. I know he did not play his best game in the Super Bowl last year, but in order for them to really reach that next level as an aggressive offense, an offense that Andy Reid's going to dial up on 4 downs, not just 3 downs like we're talking about, they need the best version of Travis Kelce, which is an engaged one. It's another part of Andy Reid having his finger on the pulse of the locker room. Even if these aren't like deep passes or passes that are meant to like blow up the stat sheet, just those little 6 and 7 yard dinks and dunks to get Kelce just staying in the flow of the offense, it really proved beneficial tonight.
No, it absolutely did. And I wonder when you watch this and you go back and watch how this game played out, not only did Kelce play a good game, Juju Smith-Schuster had some big catches for this offense too. And I look at how he has played. He has not been somebody that's going to get 100 yards very often, but you don't need him to. And with Rice coming back, he's even going to take even a lesser role because Rice is going to do a lot of the things that Juju's doing right now. But it still gives you value because you're going to need that guy that can come in and spell Rice from time to time. So it's still huge. And you look at what happened with Kelce. Kelce goes out for a couple plays, and who do they throw the ball to? Noah Gray. Noah Gray hasn't done a ton this season, but and the one thing that I will say, watching that game, and I'm trying to remember the exact play and what Mahomes did, but there was a play where Noah Gray was going down the middle of the field and was wide open in the end zone, and Mahomes is running towards the line of scrimmage, and I'm like, if he throws that ball, that's probably a touchdown. He didn't throw it. It was the one deep ball that I was wishing he had. I want to go back and watch that in all 22 to make sure I saw what I saw. But overall, Noah Gray continues to show his value to this team. Travis Kelce had a good game, but all these wide receivers are just going to be even better when they end up going down even a level further because Rashee Rice is coming back, and I would not be surprised if he gets targeted 12 times next week.
I'm curious if there's going to be any acclimation period for him or if he just hits the ground. Because I know he's been practicing with the team and he's like back in the fold. He hasn't been out playing due to suspension, but I just wonder what it's going to look like, right? This is the unleashing of the everybody's got to eat offense that everybody talks about on social media. Oh, man. What does it look like when you get 4 back in there?
And how crazy is it that you've had Hollywood Brown, Xavier Worthy, and Rashee Rice on the same offense for 23 games in the regular season, and they've never taken a snap together in a regular season. Well, in any game, really. I mean, even during the preseason, Brown goes out and doesn't play most of the preseason, so you haven't really even had it then. You haven't had all 3 of these guys on the field, and this is the offense that you're finally wanting to see. And I don't want to take anything away from what we're talking about with this game, but you also have to wonder, because it was talked about, and I think it plays into what we're talking about in the next segment. So a little bit of a teaser there.
Here we go. There we go. Get in your bag now.
Well, before this game started, it was talked about that the Chiefs were asking about the running back room or asking about running backs around the NFL. And I still think adding another piece at that position could be huge for this offense.
Speaking of that running back room, we've gone in depth about the wide receiver room. The Chiefs' running game in general has been driven by 15, but how long can he continue to do that? We discussed that coming up after this on the Locked On Chiefs Squad Show. This episode is brought to you by Mazda's Moving the Game Forward. For those who believe it's not just about playing the game, it's about redefining it. There are moments that do more than just put points on the board. They move crowds, move culture, and keep moving the game forward. This week's moment that moved the game forward, Chris, do you know what it is?
Oh, man, there's a lot of them in this one.
It's Patrick Mahomes' first quarter, 4th down touchdown pass to Xavier Worthy, fastest player in NFL history to reach 300 passing touchdowns, another record for Patrick Mahomes. When you follow what moves you, the unexpected is only the beginning. And just like there's more to every highlight, there's more to a Mazda vehicle. Mazda, move and be moved. Another record for Patrick Mahomes. He keeps racking those up, but I tweeted this out during the game. I don't even know if they're called tweets anymore. Maybe I should just say post on X or whatever. I published this to a social media site, which you can follow me at the handle below. 15 is taking a lot of hits this year, Chris Clark. Yep. And I understand that it's kind of an extension of the offense in a way. And some of these, like I watched the Chiefs early in the year, and it's clear to me that like, all right, this is just a play that broke down and Patrick's just going to make the most of it. Now, I feel like some of these are a little bit more designed runs, and he's sort of gotten his callus to the point to where it's like, all right, I've gotten the hits under my belt. Y'all don't want me to do the quarterback sneak. I'm just going to run because it keeps us ahead of schedule. And I don't know if I love it, but I think it works for them right now.
It seems to work for him right now. I don't want to continue to see it happen because the reality is he's already been dealing with an injury, with an injured groin. He's been on the injury report, an injured wrist, which I think has actually come off the injury report, if I remember the last report this past week. But I don't love seeing him run the ball as much as he has, but I also don't love seeing him get hit. And I will say this, watching that last series that the Chiefs had before they kneeled down, watching that last series, you see him break the pocket, and you're thinking, okay, is he going to throw the ball? Is he going to try to run for it? What's he going to do? And he takes a sack. And I don't care. That was actually a smart play. I was actually I was sitting there watching it going, that's a really smart play. Because he could have thrown the ball away, but then the clock doesn't run. They ran another 30 seconds off the clock, which ended up not mattering, obviously, but you don't give them the opportunity to get the ball back with even more time. So to me, I love the play from him. He is a very smart player and continues to do things for this offense. The one thing I will say is I don't remember seeing this regularly this season. Pacheco had an 11-yard run. Kareem Hunt had a 10-yard run. Those are things that you continue. If you can continue to see those,
all right. Well, we're not celebrating 10-yard runs.
No. I understand that. I'm not celebrating it.
That's where the bar is. That's where the bar is at right now with the Chiefs running game. They get a 10-yard run, and we're excited.
I'm not saying I'm excited, but it's something that hasn't happened consistently. It's something that they haven't been able to do. They haven't been able to get more than usually 2 or 3 yards in a cloud of dust. Getting a 10-yard run from time to time, getting an 11-yard run from time to time will keep the chains moving and will keep things going in the right direction. But that also goes back to what I said before we started this segment of the reason Kansas City might be looking at the running back market outside.
All right, let's give the stat lines from Sunday Night Football. We're talking the state of the Chiefs running back room here on the Locked On Chiefs Squad Show. Patrick Mahomes continues to account for a lot of rushing yardage. 10 attempts, 32 total yards, and 1 rushing touchdown, the longest of those being 11 yards. Isaiah Pacheco was the Chiefs' leading rusher in this one. 12 attempts, 51 yards, the longest of those being 11, 4.5 yards per carry. Kareem Hunt gets 6 carries for 23 yards, and Xavier Worthy is always good for an end around or a jet sweep or something like that. He gets 1 carry for 6 yards. It's not enough. And it has not been enough all year long. And realistically, it's been a couple of years since it has been enough. I think back to Isaiah Pacheco's rookie year when he was really just an unknown commodity, a 7th rounder who had no wear and tear, no injuries whatsoever. Now I look at him run and he seems a little bit slower. He seems a little bit worn down. And it's not like I want to play the blame game here. I don't think that there's one person that you can say the Chiefs do not run the ball successfully because of this one thing. I think it's a collection of issues. I think the offensive line shares a little bit of the blame. I think the running backs share a little bit of the blame. We talked about coaching earlier and trying to put your players in the best position to succeed. I think they share a little bit of the blame as well. But where I want to play a little bit of a devil's advocate is I, like you, am on social media and people are like, oh, let's just go get Alvin Kamara and that'll fix the whole thing. Let's go get Zach Charbonnet or let's get you know what I mean? Like, I think that's a very popular thing to do on social is just say, all right, we're not running the ball efficiently. We need to go get X and he will fix that. I don't know if it's that easy. I do think we're on the same page about saying what they're doing right now is not sustainable, including Patrick Mahomes' usage, but I think it's a complicated way on how to fix it.
I will argue that I think that a change at running back, if you got somebody, and I hate throwing this name out there because a lot of people are going
let's
to
do
say
it. We're here. Let's get it.
Breece Hall. You go get Breece Hall. I think it changes the running game.
Why?
I do think that Pacheco is missing holes and missing cutbacks in areas where he could be better. And the other part of that is Kareem Hunt doesn't have the ability to make those cuts and hit, and he doesn't have that explosion anymore. So you're not going to get it from there. You have a guy in Elijah Mitchell, but he did nothing in the preseason. He obviously, the team doesn't think that they have enough for him to dress, and part of that is because you have the rookie Brashard Smith, who I think is also playing very well, but you just don't seem to have enough at the running back position, and so it would not shock me to see them make a move. I agree with you. I'm not saying it's great to have an 11-yard and 10-yard run and feel great about it. I'm saying is, compared to what they've had the past couple of, most of the past 6 weeks, that's movement in the right direction. And the other thing on Mahomes, take 3 of those rushes off. He really rushes for almost 4 yards a carry because he did kneel, so he lost a couple of yards there and a couple of attempts that really shouldn't count. So overall, Mahomes, 3 passing touchdowns, a rushing touchdown on the night, 257 yards passing, and 22 for 30, so 8 passes.
He is the offense. He's the offense.
Yeah, he is, and he's always going to be the offense. The problem is you need to have somebody that can be a home run hitter type at that running back position, and you just don't have that right now. And you used to have it in Pacheco. I agree. I think he looks a little bit slow. I don't think he's fully ever going to get back from his ankle injury that he had last year, or whatever, his leg injury that he had last year. I just think that he's lost a little bit there. But if you add something there, I mean, can you? Yes. Is it going to be worth it at this point? Maybe, maybe not, because as we already kind of talked about earlier, you have Rashee Rice coming back. Everybody's got to eat, and I think that this passing offense is about to take off, and Mahomes could be throwing a little bit more than 30 times in a game.
That's where I think the next wrinkle of this state of the rushing attack for Kansas City conversation is. I think, yes, to your point, you need somebody that can at least complement Mahomes. Like, don't put it all on his shoulders. Give you somebody that can at least get you 5 yards a carry, 4 yards a carry to kind of keep you ahead of the chains. And like we talked about earlier, if you're going for it on all 4 downs here, let's just get a couple of yards so that we can stay ahead. I think Kansas City, for the last few years, has admitted that their short passing game is an extension of their run game. You know, these little screens, these dump offs, these curls, these flag routes, all this stuff, this like middle intermediary stuff. As Darren Smith joins us back here from the bowels of Arrowhead Stadium, and we're talking about the state of the Chiefs rushing attack, Darren. When Rashee Rice comes back, you offer that.
My bad.
I think that they have accepted that these short passes are just going to be a version of our run game until we can consistently run the ball. And that's why Mahomes' numbers are kind of this inflated, is because he's getting so many of these small intermediary 3, 4, 5 little Kelce routes to try and simulate what the run game would offer you. What do you think about that, Darren?
No, I think that's true. That's something that Eric Bieniemy told me years ago when he was the OC here. That they try to use the short passing game as as an extension. Look, and I get it. I get it from time to time when you didn't have that stout running back. When you were doing running back by committee. So I get that. Look, you talk about Rashee Rice coming back, and I talked to some players both on offense and defense about what his return means. Again, I don't know if you all talked about it, but I know I've mentioned it briefly that I'm not sure I'm not so sure we're going to see Tyquan Thornton, much because I don't think we saw him at all tonight, if at all tonight. I don't remember his name being called at all. So, when he comes back, when Rice comes back, he's going to have to get some touches. He's going to have to get some targets. And, of course, that's going to take it away from somebody else. And, of course, with him.
Do you want to see KC make a move for a running back? The name Breece Hall was mentioned. We mentioned Alvin Kamara. Do you think that they need to make a move for a run? There enough.
I mean, see, here's the thing. It's cool if they do it, but the problem is the Chiefs they're not a run-based team anymore. I mean, so, you can have them, but, I mean, if you bring him in, he's going to expect to touch the ball 15 to 20 times a game, and that's just not going to happen with this offense. I mean, right now they're doing running back by committees, and if you bring another running back in, who are you going to get rid of? I mean, are you going to cut? Are you going to trade Pacheco or Kareem or somebody? I mean, obviously you're going to, but that's my point. So I just don't know what an additional running back is going to bring to this offense, because the offense is fine. The offense is fine. It's just, to me, a lot of times it's the play. It's a questionable play calling. Again, they Pacheco got. I don't know if it was Pacheco or one of the runs that they had. They got it down to like 2nd and 3, and then of course Patrick Mahomes drops back to pass twice, and now it's 4th down. So it's like, I mean, there's no sense bringing a running back in if on necessary running plays you're going to drop back and pass anyway. Shout out
Chris,
to
what you
Travis
think as we try to
Kelce,
wrap up our talk here on state of the rushing offense? Bring a guy in, get better at the schemes that you have, because it's clear. I think everybody's on the same page here. It's not enough right now. How do you fix it going forward as you enter a stretch of some critical division games and Kansas City tries to make a mount back to the Super Bowl?
Yeah, and I think it's going to be interesting to see if they continue to do anything, where they look in the trade deadline, which is 3 weeks away, if they look running back or they look anywhere else. And I agree with what you said, Darren. It's interesting that they didn't do anything with Tyquan Thornton after he has been such a big part of their offense. How is that going to continue to evolve? And one thing that I will say to you, Aaron, when you look at how this game played out, and generally just this Chiefs offense and really how things have gone, where's the screen game gone? Like, they haven't really used the screen game very much with the running backs, and that used to be Andy Reid's bread and butter, and they've gone away from it. I think that could also help things a little bit more, but they really haven't used it so far.
Any last words before we talk special teams, Darren?
Look, because I would say, because even when they do use it, they're using the wide receivers to do it.
Yep.
So it's like, again, what's the purpose of bringing in a running back again? Breece Hall, I know now. First of all, if you bring Breece Hall in, you're going to need to pay him, because I think he's on an expiring contract or going on a 5th-year contract. I can't remember what his status is contract wise, but if you bring him in, you have to pay him as well, because I don't think you're going to pay Isaiah Pacheco this offseason. So, I mean, it's just again, I question more so the play calling. And again, I'm not coming down on the Chiefs tonight because I gave them an A-. But again, it's just situational football that has you scratching your head. Again, I mean, they were down in the goal line area and was throwing the football. I was like, man, just run the ball into the end zone, So.
All right. Breece Hall's in the last year of his 4-year contract as a rookie, so he would have to be paid after the season.
Is he a first-round draft pick?
No.
Okay.
We give Andy Reid a thumbs up for aggressiveness. We give the rushing game a thumbs down. Where do we evaluate the Chiefs special teams unit after this win over the Detroit Lions on Sunday Night Football? Don't give your answer yet, Darren. We got one more break, and then we'll let you unleash on Harrison Butker. You're listening to the Chiefs
hold on.
Locked On Squad Show. Hold on. We got to go to break real quick.
Okay.
Let's go to break, and then you got it. You're listening to the Chiefs Squad Show on the Locked On Podcast Network. The NFL season is here, and FanDuel has an offer you don't want to miss. Right now, new customers can bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win. That's right. Pick a bet, put down $5. I know Darren Smith has it. And if it hits, you'll unlock $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. It makes watching football even more exciting when you've got a little something riding on the action, whether you're a casual fan or love diving into the stats. FanDuel makes the game day experience so much better. So what are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com to download the FanDuel app today and get started. All right, Darren Smith, Chris Clark, and Aaron Ladd here on the Chiefs Squad Show on the Locked On Podcast Network. Appreciate y'all rocking with us post-game. We'll have these every single post-game of the Chiefs games, and we are breaking down. I just titled this KC Kicker Conundrum. Harrison Butker misses his sixth kick of the year. It was an extra point after the first Chiefs touchdown. It did not come to bite them. I even saw one commenter said that he got bailed out by some of the offensive performance for KC in this one. But I want to toss this to you all. Let's start with Darren since he's there, and you'll go take it after this, Chris. Is this a real issue for Kansas City now? The issue, Harrison Butker missing kicks, and not even just the kicks. There was the special teams issue with missing the landing zone. Where are you evaluating this, and where do you think Kansas City's front office is evaluating this 6 games into the year?
Well, okay, couple things. One, I actually did interview Harrison Butker in the locker room, so I'll post that after, a little bit later on.
Okay, we'll listen out for that. What did he say?
But look, and you know me, man, I don't bite my tongue, so I did ask him about these missed kicks and stuff, and so he was really surprised about missing the kick tonight because he thought he had it. I asked him about his footing. His footing seemed to be fine. He was just, he really can't explain how or why he missed a kick in tonight's game. We did also talk about, when, does he go back and look at the previous kicks that, up until this time? And because I asked him, I said, why do you feel like you're missing these kicks? And, he went through his explanation. I don't really want to go into it because I don't want to give it away because that's why I interviewed him. But it is a real thing. Now, he's not injured. So he is fine. He is healthy. But it has played a mental effect on him because he knows, because he wants to play a perfect game, because I said there's 6 weeks in a row that something special team wise is taking place. He said last week that he had not, kicked the ball out of bounds. He just said it was just a bad time for something like that to happen. So, he obviously took the onus of that. So, I give him grace on that because I don't think that's going to happen again. That the out of bounds play that took place, or penalty that took place last week. But it is a real issue that he knows that he and the team have, that they got to get addressed. But I don't have an answer for him, and he doesn't really have an answer except for just keep practicing, just keep watching the tapes, and just try to correct the issues technique wise that might be failing them at the moment.
All right, Chris, but they're not going to bring in another kicker to try and compete with him,
and they're not going to cut him.
We know they're not going to cut him. Kicking is a mental game. It's like golfing. Some days you have, some days you don't have a good round. Where do the Chiefs stand with Harrison Butker right now, in your opinion, and how do they move forward? Because this is continuing to cost them points.
Yeah, it's really hard because they literally just signed him to a contract extension, and you're sitting here looking at a situation where you really can't cut him. He's guaranteed almost $6 million in 2026, and he's under contract through 2028. So,
and his dead cap hit would be about $15 million if they were to cut him.
Yeah, it's gonna be real expensive if they want to cut him. So I don't see that happening. you have to just continue trying to work with him. But I want to ask you two, is it just me, or did it look like he went down to his knee when he kicked that extra point and he missed it? Because I thought he went down to his knee, which was something he was doing last year when he wasn't healthy.
I'm not gonna lie. For me, it was kind of hard for me to see from the press box, and I didn't have my binoculars on, and I didn't bother watching the replay on television because when he was about to kick it, I was like, "Oh Jesus!" Steve was like, "Come on, man, he's gonna make it." Then he missed it, and then Steve is like, yeah, that's why I was calling on Jesus, because I was hoping, Harrison and Jesus got a tight connection. He was going to help him with that extra point.
Come on, man. We're not doing that.
That's right. Hey, that's my thing. No. Hold on.
We're not doing that.
Hold on. He and I are fine with it because we go back and forth. So, no, he's cool with it. But, again, it just, man, I don't know, man. It just mental thing. So, again, as it relates to whether he slipped or went down to his knee, I'm not quite sure. But it does look like it's something that he does all the time, though, Chris.
I didn't see it either, and I do start to worry if, in baseball, when batters start messing with their swing in a slump, sometimes you just psych yourself out, right? You start thinking too much. One of the things Butker was always so good at in his prime when he was making kicks to win Super Bowls, he wasn't thinking. He was just executing. He had the confidence to know that I've made big kicks before, and I'm just going through the motions that have gotten me here in the past. Now you can tell that he's not in it, to the point to where the offense doesn't want to trust him to go out there for fourth downs. They want to play through it. Here's my take on this, and we can start to round out this episode on this. You got to stick with Butker. He's won Super Bowls for you before. This is a guy that not only has won stuff for you off the field, but there's a lot of off the field turmoil with him, where captains in your locker room have shielded him and taken a lot of stuff for him, to where you're invested in him, whether come hell or high water. So I think you stay with Butker. I think you ride this out. I think he tries to. I mean, it's better that he misses these kicks now than when it starts to get colder in November, December, and January, when you really need him to come through. But it's ugly right now. There's no sugarcoating it.
Go ahead,
Darren.
I'm sorry, Chris. No, Aaron, what I was going to say, but to that point, if the offense does what they're supposed to do, you shouldn't see Butker out there except for extra points. I mean, now, I don't know if you all talked about, with the addition of Rashee Rice coming in next week, coming back next week. I mean, and literally everybody on offense is healthy. So they should be able to put up 30-plus points as a regular right now until like you said, maybe it gets colder.
He's still kicking the kickoffs, though, Darren. And he's still missing the landing zone. He's going to have to be out there at some point. You can't hide your kicker.
No. I get no.
He's got to kick.
Yeah, just the reason I hear any longer.
You can hide your left tackle. You can't hide your kicker. He's got to kick.
Just kick it to the end zone. I mean, all that's kick it to the end zone.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's the other thing. Like, why are you putting him?
That is still legal.
Why are you putting him in a situation where he's going to have those issues? Like, that's the one thing. Tobe has continued to have him try to play that game, and it ended up costing him. And I understand it was execution, not the play call, whatever. But the question becomes, when you look at Butker, at what point are you going to start going for it more than they already have, as opposed to putting him in a position to start kicking field goals because you're worried he's going to miss it? And let's not forget, I'm trying to remember the game it was a couple of weeks ago where he goes out to kick a long one and misses it, and gives the ball back to the other team, and they go down and score right before half.
Was that Baltimore or New York?
I thought it was the Eagles, but maybe I'm wrong on that.
What's your solution, Chris? Give me a solution. Either whoever wants to take it next needs to offer me a solution. My take was, you got to ride it out. Sometimes it's like a toxic relationship. There's going to be some good days, going to be some bad days, but y'all are with each other from through thick and thin.
Aaron, you and I
here on Butker.
Aaron, you and I already know Coach Reed is going to ride this thing out no matter what. I mean, that's just how look, he believes in his guys, and he and Dave Tobe, they're going to leave it up to Harrison to get it figured out. And look, I think it's getting to the point where he knows, what it's doing, not only to him but to the team. Again, it did not come back to haunt them in tonight's game. They didn't end up having to go for 2 points or something to kind of match what Detroit was doing. Again, if the defense can continue to do what they did tonight defensively and keeping teams out of the end zone, then then you kind of cover for Harrison Butker. So So that's the best way to do it. It's just as long as the offense keeps putting points on the board and the defense can at least hold the other team every blue moon. You put enough space between Butker points, saying being a necessity to it being, okay, we got enough points where we don't have to worry about it.
Chris, what do you think? Round us out here on KC's kicking conundrum.
Well, they have to ride it out. I mean, they have to just let it go, and they have to try to put him in positions where they think they can give him some confidence in the matter. And if they can do that, I think they'll be fine. It's not a great situation, but you got to hope that you're not putting him in a situation to make game-winning kicks in the next couple of weeks, because he doesn't seem to have the confidence right now.
Who would have thought? I mean, the highs that Harrison Butker has given Chiefs Kingdom, for us now to be saying we can't put him in a situation where he needs to make a game-winning kick. I would have never thought I'd see the day. Darren Smith is on the move once again here at Arrowhead Stadium.
Yeah, I still got to do post game with Steve. So
security kicked you out. Taylor Swift kicked you out.
So. Hey, man, we work, man. We work it, man. That's just what it is.
I appreciate you making time for us. Chris Clark is about to hop on the Daily Show and talk with Ryan Tracy, unpacking this 30-17 win over the Detroit Lions. The Chief Squad Show will be back on Wednesdays here on the Locked On Podcast Network as we preview the next matchup in Week 7. Any final words, Chris, on the way out?
No, I really don't. I think that this is a fantastic game for the Chiefs, and moving forward, I'm really excited to see what the offense can do with Rashee Rice coming back. The defense, I guess I will add this. The defense holding another top offense to less than 20 points says a lot about this team.
Yep.
All right, fellas, I'm going to let y'all go. I appreciate y'all rocking with us here on the Chiefs Squad Show on the Locked On Podcast Network. We're going to play this outro, and we will see y'all next time.